Good afternoon. Call the meeting of the Economic Development and Planning Committee to order today, Tuesday, March 11th at 3:03 p.m. Could you please call the roll?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Ms. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon is absent at the moment. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
Next would be approval of minutes from the February 3rd, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving quickly along.
Resolution 2025-0044, authorizing the county executive to sign a petition in support of continuing the Downtown Cleveland Improvement District, requesting that certain county properties be included in the district.
Thank you. Who is here for this?
Good afternoon, Council. I feel like Katie Gallagher on behalf of the Executive Office. I feel like I started this, and I think hopefully maybe end this. Thanks for sticking with us. We're here for the Downtown Improvement District on behalf of the continued support that Council and the Executive have given, but also in this more formal way. And I will let Ed, I know there was 2 outstanding issues from what I understand, so I will let Ed from Downtown Cleveland Alliance go into that. So, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Katie. My name is Ed Eckhart. I'm the Senior Vice President for Downtown Cleveland. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I am here today to report to you that we have exceeded our threshold of petition signatures required for the reauthorization of the Special Improvement District. We've got broad support from the private businesses within the district. And we are looking forward to the counties joining that broad support. Right now, as I'm standing here today, we will be turning in those petitions to the City of Cleveland to start that formal process by the end of the month.
Thank you. And what's your percentage at this point?
We're, Mr. Chairman, to the committee, we are above the 60%. As we left today, we're still receiving petitions, so we anticipate being closer to 65, 66, 67% by the end of the month when we turn the petitions over for the formal process.
Okay, and I believe that's what was holding this whole thing up. Are there any questions from committee? Mr. Gallagher.
And that's 65% without Cleveland and without the county.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, that includes the City of Cleveland.
Well, the deal was without the city and without the county, over 60%. And I went back and checked the record. It's on the record, under oath, in front of this committee. So do you have it or don't you?
Mr. Chairman, to Councilman Gallagher, the percentage that we have today includes the City of Cleveland.
Would you answer? So you don't have it?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, I'm not aware of any deal or agreement regarding the representation of the percentage. What is required by State of Ohio revised code is that you gather 60% of those businesses within the district. It's always been that way. This year is the first time in our history where the City of Cleveland has opted in. And I'm here today to ask for council support based on our threshold.
Based on our last meeting, and I called Mr. Deemer last week, and he called me back Sunday. And I said, I want to make things very clear. Do you have the 60% without Cleveland and without the county? He told me Sunday when he called me back that, yes, we do. I said, great, we're ready to go. And you're telling me we don't.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, again, I am not familiar with that agreement or any of those conversations.
All you had to do was watch or talk to Mr. Deemer, our last meeting, when we asked for that. See, our position has been, it's not that we don't want to participate. We don't want to tax people that don't want to be taxed. We don't want to be the votes that put you over a threshold to tax 40% of the people that don't want it. We think it's important that you get the 60%, which I thought I was on board with Mr. Deemer with, who testified in front of us, that they would have over 60, or at least the 60% without Cleveland, without the private, with anything but the private sector. I mean, you haven't been here. I have, although I don't recognize your face, but, so this is your first time here?
This, Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, it's my first time testifying.
Okay, so will we have two different testimonies. And to be clear, when you're testifying at that podium in front of this council, you're under oath. And I'm not saying that anybody here is lying, but you're saying one thing, he said another, and you were going to deliver to 60% without Cleveland and without the county.
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, again, I can only speak to the participation of those properties that are within the district.
Right.
We think it's important that both the city and the county opt in along with the private property owners to show support.
Sure.
This time around, we, as I mentioned in my opening, have experienced broad support from property owners. We've got property owners on for the first time that have never participated before. This allows us to continue the great work of the district and the organization to move forward.
Not a question.
We're asking this body to go ahead and provide authorization to the county executive to join in. And that's what I'm here to ask for this afternoon.
And this body requested that the Downtown Cleveland Alliance come back with 60%. It was at that podium, they were told, they said they could get it. I talked to Mr. Deemer, I believe it was not this past Sunday, the previous Sunday. He said that they were going to be able to get it. And now you're telling me you don't have it without the city of Cleveland, who ironically should be providing all these services anyhow. And we all know that. But be that as it may, we only asked one thing. Get 60% without the government enforcing a tax on property owners that may or may not want to participate. I don't think that's unreasonable. And for Cleveland to jump on board, of course they're going to jump on board. They're going to benefit from this. They're going to benefit from this. There's no debate in City Hall over this. And we only asked one thing. And I'm very disappointed that I'm hearing complete opposite of what we were told.
Madam Clerk, we show that Ms. Simon is here.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. President.
Are you done?
Yeah,
Mr. Gallagher?
I'm sorry.
Mr. President, to my colleagues, I'll confess that I don't remember the exact wording of exactly how this was discussed, but my understanding is different. As I recalled, what Councilman Gallagher said is that he doesn't want Cuyahoga County to put its thumb on the scale. And so he wanted us to get to 60% prior to us moving forward. This is, for me, this is the first time I'm hearing it being a big deal that the city of Cleveland has to be part of the 60, can't be part of the 60%. So, I mean, I'm ready to move forward. I think that the county can't do everything, and it's good for us to partner with the city of Cleveland and the business community. As I recall, the city of Cleveland is something like 10%. Can you tell me what the number is on the city of Cleveland?
13.5.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, I believe that's correct.
13.5.
That's correct.
So that's a pretty big chunk of it to say we're going to get to 60 without the city of Cleveland. So the city of Cleveland is 13.5 and the county is how much? 3.
Mr. Chairman, the councilman, that's correct.
So that means we would have to get to 60 out of 83 because the city of Cleveland and the county can't be included. That's a pretty high bar. And I don't think that's the intent of the state legislation. So I'm good to go. Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Well, as far as I know, this has never changed. It's always been 60%, correct?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, per the Ohio Revised Code,
Right.
that's correct.
So this is nothing new. So what that tells me is with 13.5 and 3%, 16.5 off top, wherever you're at, I still don't know where you're at. You're saying you're somewhat over 60. There's even more property owners that seem to have a problem with this. If you're needing Cleveland's votes and Cuyahoga County's votes, the government votes, to tax more property owners that don't want to do it.
Mr. Chairman to the councilman, I think that's an unfair characterization.
Explain.
Of your position. From my knowledge of the history of the Special Improvement District, once the reauthorization got at a 60% level, petitions were submitted to the city. There was never a goal or an intention to go out and try and track down every property owner within a district. It's a very laborious, very complex process. And that's why the state legislation, I would assume, is written the way that it is. So to say that you feel, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so please correct me, but to say that you feel like we've lost support somehow because now we're taking the city's percentage to augment those numbers, it's not a fair characterization. The goal has always been to get to the 60% threshold, to submit our petitions to the city, and that's what we intend to do.
Right.
Again, we certainly hope that the county joins us in that. Frankly, if the county doesn't and we submit petitions, the property owners within the district will pay more money if the county does not opt in. Each individual property owner's assessment will go up if the county does not opt in.
Okay. Well, scare tactics aside, the reality is you got to get to 60. And at one time in history, you got to 60, correct?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, we've always gotten to 60.
Okay, why is it so hard now? If you haven't lost support, why is it so hard now and you need 16.5% from government to put you over 60? Explain to me.
Now, Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, I think this is a circular argument. The bottom line is we need to reach 60% for the state revised code. We've achieved that number. Again, we would love to have the county's support. I'm here today to ask this committee to vote on that request.
You reached the 60% without the county?
Mr. Chairman, yes, because the county has not opted in at this point.
Right. And you reached the 60% with the city?
That's correct.
Government. Is it, you know what, you weren't here initially, and Mr. Miller doesn't recall, but I had a conversation after all this, after this was put on record on the floor, and I called Mr. Deemer. And again, I'll reiterate, he told me on the phone, we will get to 60 without Cleveland or the county. So can you get to 60 without Cleveland and the county? And keep in mind, I don't know how you're missing this, but who other than the property owners who have to tax themselves because Cleveland won't do what they're supposed to do, Who benefits the most out of this? Let me answer it for you. Cleveland. And here we are carrying the water again. And I don't mind doing it because I feel sorry for you guys that you're in a city that doesn't give a damn about you. But you're going to use their votes to put you over 60 and to try and shame us to give you 3 to put you over 60? To tax people that don't want to be taxed, I guess? And we were told you were going to come back here with 60 without the government. And here we are. Now, maybe I'm a liar, but somebody's not telling the truth. And I told you, we've had a guy stand at that podium not being truthful once, and things happened. So something's going on here. This is not complicated. It's not a circular argument. There was a reasonable request put on the table, and we were told, and I was assured that it was done. And what am I supposed to think? So I've been told something that by somebody that may or may not be true. I'd like to know. Because I got the phone record of the phone call. Maybe we need to do that. I mean, this really isn't difficult. This is not difficult. You have a panel here that wants to help you out. But somehow, some way, we're not being told the truth.
To Councilman Gallagher's point, I don't know why Mr. Deemer's not here. I think that would have probably helped. Ms. Simon, did you?
Yeah, I have the same recollection as my colleague, Councilman Gallagher, that the government entity should not be the ones to force private sector businesses to have to pay toward this organization if they're not satisfied with what the outcome has been. And that's a conclusion I have to draw, that if they're not eager to join the SID, that means to me that they're not satisfied with the services that have been provided to them. And I'd like to I think I did get a list, but I want to review it to see who's in and who's out. I know Metro Parks is out in big part because they take care of themselves. I think what the private business owners want to do is take care of themselves. And I don't think the county needs this organization to take care of our property. We have a huge, staff to do that. We staff our other buildings through Public Works. So I'm not even sure what the county itself is going to be getting out of this necessarily. There's other SIDs as well that might need some help. I need to find out from the business owners who are actually the ones having to pay this, what the issues are. And I also would like to know what the payroll is, how large the organization is, and how it's staffed. We have time. And that was the one question I have. I don't want to put anybody in a box that if we delay this or have to look at things, that it's going to thwart the outcome of this. And I understood we had until maybe November to do this. So I don't think, no.
No, it wasn't that long.
Well, where are we getting this from? Like, tell me exactly what the deadline is and what the schedule will be.
Mr. Chairman, to the council person, when Mr. Deemer was here on the first day, I believe he walked through the process. There is a legislative requirement and administrative actions that need to take place at the City of Cleveland to ensure that all of the documents are correct, all of the county parcels are listed correctly. Then Cleveland City Council has to approve legislation for the assessments. Once those assessments get approved through Cleveland City Council, then it comes back to the county auditor's office so that those tax assessments can be placed on the annual tax bills. So as we stand here today, we are turning in the petitions that we have at the end of March. That is already kind of making a very compressed timeline for the City of Cleveland, given their summer council committee schedule, to be able to go through all of the approval process.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I'm so sorry. I walked in 5 minutes.
My name is Ed Eckhart. I'm the Senior Vice President for
Okay.
downtown Cleveland.
So, Mr. Eckhart, I mean, if Cleveland's doing its due diligence with or without the county to get the tax assessments and all the paperwork in, how does our action or non-action at this point impact that?
Mr. Chairman, to the council person, it doesn't impact the processing time, but once we turn the petitions in to start that process, Any petitions that come in after that will not be included as part of that assessment.
So there
And
is
that's why
time.
I made the comment earlier that if this body does not go forward and authorize the legislation, we will turn those petitions in, and the assessments on the rest of the property owners downtown's assessments will go up because the portion that the county will have paid by opting in won't be there.
Right, but there's time. I mean, I understand what the threat is, that the county then would be the bad guys here and force private business owners to have to participate at a higher rate. I understand what you just said. And I frankly, not sure I appreciate that. But notwithstanding that, there's time. Cleveland, I'd like to hear from Cleveland. What's their time frame? I mean, this isn't happening by Monday. This isn't happening in 2 weeks, I would think. We have a couple council meetings through this committee in between that time. I'll get Cleveland in here, find out what their time frame is, and we'll work within that until we're feeling that this is a suitable way to proceed and how we're going to handle private business in the county.
Mr. Eckert, Cleveland has signed the petition?
Mr. Chairman, they have.
So what is it you would like to do? Go, Mr. Gallagher.
So it's your testimony, and I feel sorry for you because you're coming in cold here. You clearly don't understand what happened previous. So, but it's your testimony, you had no idea about Cleveland and Cuyahoga County not participating in the 60%.
Mr. Chairman, the councilman, no.
Do you talk to Mr. Deemer at all?
Mr. Chairman, the councilman, yes.
And he never brought that up.
No, sir.
Nobody else brought that up.
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, there's something wrong here, and I don't know where it is, and I need Mr. Deemer here to explain himself to me. Because I was told the opposite. Not from you, not from you. He told me one thing, and now we're hearing about a different thing. Do you need the county 3% to put you over 60?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, as I stated when I first came up to the podium, we are beyond the threshold. We are going to submit petitions before the end of the month. That starts the process.
Right. Where are you at?
Those properties that are in will be part of the assessment. Those that aren't won't be part of the overall.
What's your percentage? Where are you at?
I believe as of this moment, we're somewhere in the 63, 64%. But as I stated, literally today, I saw more property owners delivering their petitions to our office.
And I've heard there's movement that way. Would there be any issue in waiting for those property owners to deliver their votes?
Mr. Chairman, the councilman, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
I'm of the understanding that there's movement towards the 60% without the county and without the city, wherever that's at. And I've heard there's movement from other property owners that way to provide the 60%. Because with Cleveland, you're not there, but you're heading that way, correct?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, if I am understanding what you're saying, as we're getting more petitions in, our number is going to continue to rise, yes.
So if I may, if it's 13.5% for Cleveland and you think you're at, say, 63 or 64 at this point, so you're actually down to about 51 or 52 maybe, without the city of Cleveland's percentage?
Going to chime in. You know, I'm covering for Mrs. Berry, and I've been in and out of this. I kicked it off for her. I just wanted to read a text she sent, and I cannot validate it. This is not my, subject matter expertise, but she said Cleveland is about 15%, but if they are not in, it doesn't remove 15% because everyone else's percentage commitment and fees go up since it gives us, since we're not, the publics are not required to participate. So it's not a linear percentage increase. So she's basically saying that Cleveland's percentage doesn't really matter in the 60% mark. Again, I can't validate this, so I apologize, but I was just trying
Okay,
to add
well,
a little context.
That's helpful. So ours really doesn't matter, right?
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, and I'm not an expert in this, I can tell you what I know, and I can tell you what I don't know. Governmental entities are exempt from this process.
Right, this has never been done before.
And because of that, the way that the budget is set up, say if we took the city and county out of this equation altogether, like we've had in
Forever.
5 other prior renewals, the pot, so to speak, of all of the property owners, say would be $10 a property owner based on the size and value of their property. The total budget that comes from that remains the same. If the city and county opt in, that total pot remains the same, but because they opt in, the amount that then gets assessed to the private property owners goes down because now you've got the governmental entities that are opting in.
Right, I understand that.
And so from that perspective, it is more about how much the individual property owners are going to pay.
And I'm not even interested in that. I just want you guys to get to 60 without us. And that's what we were told that you were going to do. And again, I feel sorry for you. You're up here not knowing what happened in the past.
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, we are at 60 without you.
Are at 60 without us.
That's correct.
And Cleveland, government.
No, sir. Again, we are at 60 without the county.
You're going to be without, you really don't need us right now. You really don't. You're at 63, 64, but you got 13.3 out of Cleveland. So you're nowhere near 60%. That's my point. And we were told that that's what was going to happen. I see you're frustrated. How about me, who was told at that podium just the opposite? I got to tell you, I'm a little hot over this, and that's not towards you or the administration. Somebody stood here and somebody called me on a Sunday and told me just the opposite. And I got to question that. I really got to question what's going on here.
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, I'm not frustrated. I'm trying to answer your questions as best I can. Again, the district is a positive entity for downtown Cleveland.
Not a debate.
It has nothing to do with the level of services that the city of Cleveland provides.
It has everything to do with the level of services the city provides because you're cleaning the streets, you're patrolling with
Mr.
safety.
Councilman,
you're
if I
patrolling,
can,
you're
if I
patrolling.
can.
You said something that's not true. You're hiring extra patrols. Cleveland should be cleaning the streets, cleaning your sidewalks, patrolling your streets, making you safe. And they're not. And that's why this organization exists. And I want to support it. But I don't want to be told one thing in a meeting and then they send somebody else who has no idea, and that's not your fault, just the opposite. I fully expected 60% today. Vote this out, move on our way, everybody's happy.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, the only other thing I can tell you is the city of Cleveland is one of only a handful of communities that have not opted into special improvement districts around the country.
What do you think that is?
No, my point is everyone else around the country, their municipalities opt in.
Right.
So
I don't want to, I'm an elected official. I don't like taxing people. Sometimes we have to, I understand that. And this is a self-tax on your part. This is your organization. And Cleveland opted in so they could get this taken care of. It's going to make your area safer and cleaner. I mean, that's a given. It's a given. The things they should be providing you, this group, your group provides to yourselves. And I applaud you for that. And I want to support you. But I want you to get to 60 like we were told that you would get to 60 without us. And don't, when I say us, government. I'm frustrated, quite honestly, with somebody, and I'm not certain who to be frustrated with, because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus that's not standing in front of me that can answer a question. And that would be Mr. Deemer. It would be very helpful if he were here.
Simon.
Yeah, I want to hold this. I think we have time. And what happens here is if the county gets into this, it dilutes the votes of the private businesses. It skews everything with the government dictating the taxes for private businesses that might not want this. If they wanted it, they would join. And when you indicated that the assessment would go up if the county's not in, we're already subsidizing this financially. We've been for years, and we'll continue to do that. So is that what you were saying? If we don't opt in, the assessments go up for the non-county businesses?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilperson, yes.
So it's just a matter of how much we subsidize. It's not a matter of whether we join.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilperson, I don't understand the question.
Well,
The
you
way the
said-
county has provided funding support in the past is outside of the special improvement district.
Okay, but what if we continue to do that?
We would be grateful for any support that the county would
Yeah,
give
but
us.
the
But
question
again,
is,
it's a direct impact on the property owners.
So if we raise the level to which we contribute, whatever way we choose to do that, you're saying that somehow if we don't join and subsidize, that's going to cause private business owners to have a higher assessment?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilperson, that's correct.
Okay, and can you explain why? And if so, is there a consideration to reducing staff or adjusting your own internal operations to make sure that the private business owners who are forced to do this don't have to pay a higher amount? So it's a twofold question.
Mr. Chairman, to the councilperson, the way the special improvement district operates is the businesses within the district are assessed whatever the assessment is. That goes forward once we hit the 60% threshold. The way the county has provided support in the past is not to directly fund the special improvement district, but to fund the work of the organization. So the organization uses the money for things like events, programs that happen downtown, advocacy work, marketing, retail strategies, things like that. The assessment that comes from the special improvement district goes to the Clean and Safe program, the ambassadors out cleaning up trash
Okay,
and
I want to
debris.
stop you there. I'm going to put a pin there. If we raise the amount we subsidize through this non-joining way for these other events, you could shift your budget, can you not? If we enrich in one area, that would allow you to free up money to shift it toward this other program. So I'm not understanding why, if we increase our subsidy, somehow that wouldn't help the business owners. And there's ways to do that, whether you adjust your salaries, whether you shift budgeting, whatever you need to do. I don't think that you're prohibited or precluded from doing that. And the only way to protect the businesses is for us to come into this as a member. I don't think that's true.
One last thing. Who's the biggest landowner? Who has the most votes?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, I believe that would be K&D.
And how many votes today, percentage-wise, they have?
I don't know what their percentage is. I know they pay the highest assessment every
Can you
year,
ballpark it?
over $500,000.
No, I mean percentage-wise.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know the largest voter?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, no, I don't know the percentages of the properties.
10%, 30%?
Mr. Chairman of the councilman, I don't know.
It would be helpful to know that. And the reason being is if the government participates in your organization as a voting member, that's a pretty big block vote, 16.5. That's a big block vote. And that ultimately goes to our concern. but thank you.
All right, so I'm inclined to hold this till next week. I don't believe that there's going to be a 3 o'clock meeting on Tuesday, which would have been council operations. If we could hold it on that Tuesday at 3 o'clock and get the right people here that you want to be here, we can work on that. Would this group be available?
Why aren't we meeting on Monday?
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, sorry. Tuesday will work for me.
It won't or it will?
Will.
I just been told by staff, they reviewed the tape that we stated you get 6% without the county. Right. My discussion is that Mr. Deemer was up without the county and the city government. So I think if we could hold it, get Mr. Deemer in here to clarify that, would be helpful.
Through the chair. Thank you. Chief Gallagher, would it be possible to have some kind of itemized list of what we're paying, what it goes to for that next meeting? Thank you.
Okay, would the committee be inclined to hold this till next Tuesday, 3 p.m.? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And then you'll get a list of the people that you want here, correct?
And the information about the organization and their finances and the number of their staffing and all of that.
Okay. Okay, is there any miscellaneous business?
There are no other items for consideration.
Then if there's nothing else, the committee will be adjourned.